G'day guys, my name's William and welcome to my first video on some yoga things. Today we're going to have a look at the classic downward dog position, which I feel like is the most common pose you'll find yourself in if you're doing any kind of vinyasa style or power flow style classes. And something just to quickly brush over is it's often mistakenly, I think, referred to as a resting position by most yoga teachers. And whilst it can be a resting position for intermediate to advanced level yogis or yoginis, it's definitely not going to feel like a resting position for your average beginner. It's very activating on the back, so oftentimes you'll find that your shoulders, your upper back, your lower back even, and your triceps will just be burning from sort of holding this position for any kind of extended period of time. So don't feel dismayed that it's referred to as a resting position when you're sitting there sweating and trembling, because it is very intense and it should feel quite intense for you if it's the first time or even the 100th time you've been through this position. It takes a lot of repetition for this to feel like a resting position, so don't be dismayed by that. We're going to focus on the classic mistake I think people make in this pose, which is straightening off their legs when their hamstrings are reasonably tight. And now, tight hamstrings, especially for guys, I feel is a very common thing. And it can be quite restricting for a lot of poses because the hamstrings are directly, of course, tied into the lower back there. And the tighter your hamstrings are, the more it's going to cause you to round out your lower back. So, for example, if I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get my lower body at a 90-degree angle, because my hamstrings are so tight, it's pulling my hips, it's rotating them like this. So it's pulling my hips into a posterior tilt. The only way for me to get my lower back at a 90-degree angle would be to take that load off, so bending at my knees, and that allows me to then create that sort of anterior pelvic tilt in my back and get it more vertical. Now I know it's not perfectly vertical, but it's a lot better than I can get it if I straighten out my legs. And that's genuinely me trying to get as vertical as I can. So that's going to translate directly when we go into our downward dog position. So coming into the downward dog, I'm going to find a tabletop position, and then I'm going to widen my stance quite considerably. So I'm going to take a full hand width length ahead of where my hands were, and make sure that I've got a bit of space as well. So widening my stance slightly so that I've got room for my shoulders to come up around my head there. From here, I'm going to tuck my toes, lift my knees off the mat and push my hips back and bend up. And now this here is what I would consider my strong, stable downward dog pose. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that my knees are bent quite considerably here. And the reason for that is bending my knees takes a lot of load off my tight hamstrings and allows me to get that lower body, that hip rotation to activate my lower back. If I was to try and straighten off my legs here with my tight hamstrings and watch my lower back here, you notice that that will cause my lower back to round out into a posterior tilt, and doesn't allow me to then engage my back and keep it nice and strong and stable. So to counter this, I'm going to bend my knees, reducing the load on my hamstrings, which allows me to then create that anterior pelvic tilt and get that nice, strong, straight line in my back there. Of course, my heels also are quite far from the ground. That comes down to my calf flexibility as well as my hamstrings. But the real focus of this pose is creating that strength through the upper body, through that back, through that posterior upper chain. So we're not really wanting to focus on getting the stretch of the hamstrings until we can maintain this strong upper body, and then we can work on slowly straightening off those legs, getting a little bit more length in the hamstrings. But from here, I'm just going to come forwards, down to my tabletop again, and take a quick breather. So I'm going to rest by pushing my big toes together, my hips back and down towards the heels, and coming down to the child's pose. And that's definitely the most common error I see with beginners that are coming into the downward dog position, is not focusing on getting that upper body strength and thinking that it's all about having those heels touch the ground and those legs completely straighten off, which just simply isn't the case. It really doesn't allow us to focus on the real benefits of this pose, which is strengthening the entire upper back and really sort of connecting that upper body chain all together. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. Feel free to drop a like if you like the video. If you didn't dislike it, feel free to subscribe as well, because hopefully I'll be coming with some more videos, some just tips and pointers, mostly for my friends, to be honest. So that if they're attending one of my classes, I can point them this way and they can sort of get a little bit of information out of it, where they can watch it at home and rewatch it and go from there. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.